Going on, everybody? I wanted to make a quick video going over charge-offs. And on this video, I'm going to show you kind of the game with charge-offs, how they really aren't charge-offs, etc. So, what if I told you that what you believe about a charge-off is a lie? Like most people, they hear charge-offs and then they panic, but they don't understand that a charge off is nothing that you really should panic about. And it also gives you a lot of power. And I'll be going over this in a few videos, but right now I'm just going to start off with this video, and it'll help you in the future. So, you know, uh, what's happening behind the scenes with your credit and your alleged debt is far more deceptive than you could ever see in your life. What we're going to do is we're going to go over some of the world of basically charge-offs, 1099-Cs, credit reporting, and why what you don't know is actually hurting you or going to cost you big money in regards to financing projects and things. But you have to understand one thing. When it comes to credit is a big game of illusion. And a lot of people believe in the reality of credit. They feel like if they lose their credit, it's over, and it really isn't. You control everything in your life. You control your credit. You control what accounts don't that they close out. You control the accounts that they leave open. You control what is on your credit report. You control what's not on your credit report, but you don't know this. So look, first I'm going to explain what is a charge off really. So let's just start with the basics. A charge off is when a lender labels your debt as unlikely to be collected, typically after 180 days of non payment. They move the debt from an active asset to a written off loss on their books. It sounds like they're giving up, right? But that's just a lie. So look, they're still collecting, they're still reporting it, and in many cases, they're still making money off your so called default. So you have to understand what an asset being written off their books is. All it is a piece of paper saying that the asset is written off on their books. All it is a credit reporting that's saying that the asset is written off on their books. It doesn't mean that they legally did it or they took the legal required steps to do it. Okay, so a lot of times you have charge-offs on your credit cards or your bank's alleged loans, and you don't know, prove to me that you charged this off your books. You don't ask certain questions. So they're just like, yeah, whatever. So we're going to go to 7 CFR. And over here on 7 CFR, which is Code of Federal Regulations, it's going to explain to you legally with with a charge off is also. Okay. And a lot of times people will tell you just because somebody charges off a debt, they got to give you a 1099-C. That's BS. Okay. If it's a real charge off, then you're supposed to be writing the 1099-C. They're not. But the bank will because they're the alleged lender. And I can prove to you that a bank is not a lender. So look, charge off, write off of debt and termination servicing activity without release of liability. Okay. So if it's without release of liability, that means that they still have a so called legal claim to the amount in the debt. So when a person writes off a debt, they're just saying that they're not actively collecting it. That doesn't mean that the debt disappears. It doesn't mean that they can't collect the debt. They can transfer the debt, they can sell the debt, and that person can come after you. Okay? So a lot of people on the internet are giving a lot of misinformation. A charge off is a decision by the agency to remove debt from the agency's receivables. The reason why do they remove it from their receivables? Because obviously, if it's on their receivables and they're not receiving any payment or they're not receiving any negotiable instruments, then they're not collecting. So then it becomes they're allocating their funds, meaning their warehouses and their collection agents to facilitate the collection of this. And they're just saying we're not actively doing that because we're not making any money off of it. See, they only make money off of receivables because they can pledge those receivables on the secondary market in a pooling and servicing agreement. But that's not here nor there. However, future payments may be received. Okay. It's still a closed account, but it's still open. Okay. compromise, satisfaction of debt, including release of liability and accounting, a lump sum of payment of less than the total amount owed. So that's where you see on your credit where it says that the amount paid, the amount is paid, but less for the full balance. You might as well not even paid it if you was gonna do that. I'm gonna keep it 100. So look, here's what you need to understand behind the scenes, right? This is what they don't tell you. Many lenders monetize your debt. They write it off for tax purposes. They claim a loss, then get reimbursed by insurance. They sell the account to a debt buyer, meaning an attorney, because whenever you're being sued in a credit card case or a case where you have a car loan, you're being sued by the attorney. You're not being sued by the bank. Okay. Or they pull the charge off account into a security and sell it on Wall Street. Yes. All the while, they continue to report the charge off to your credit file as a debt still exists in their same way. Well, the reason why they do that is because, as I told you guys many times, under the Uniform Commercial Code, under UCC 1-307, it tells you that anything that a person alleges or a third party alleges is prima facie evidence. You have to understand what prima facie evidence is. Okay, it's just the illusion that what they're saying is correct until they see anything to the contrary. Okay, so shouldn't they send you a 1099-C? If they've done all that, shouldn't they send you a 1099-C? If that's what proves the debt was canceled? Yes. Okay, yes, they should send you a 1099-C, but they don't have to. Okay, but only if they actually cancel it. And here's where it gets shady. They don't send you a 1099-C unless one of the three things happen. You settle the debt, you formally forgive it, or you accept that it is canceled. Until then, they leave out the IRS. They leave the IRS out of it and their collection options open. Now, why? Because you don't legally have to file taxes. You're supposed to file taxes, but you don't have to file taxes. And they know that. They use these rules to manipulate you. They play by a different set of rules, but they give you the rules. Like, if you don't do this, we gonna do that. You could do the same thing. So look, this is why this is fraudulent credit reporting. You know, what we're gonna talk about is like how this messes with your credit. Okay. They've written it off. They've gotten reimbursed. This is why I tell you guys you need to sometimes ask for accounting. If you ask for accounting, that'll change a lot of things up. Maybe even sold it, but they still report it as a balance owed. Yes, it's a balance owed to you, not from you. Yes, they can't collect on that debt. They wrote it off. If they wrote it off, they can't collect on the debt. It's a balance owed to you. You have to make a claim to the balance owed. That's why they're always willing to settle with you. If you take these people to court, they'll settle with you. They're reporting a loss, reporting a loss they no longer hold, right? And they can do that because you haven't objected. You haven't raised your rights in the agreement. You haven't done anything. You haven't asked for an accounting. You haven't asked for signed documents. You ain't asked for nothing. That's why you got to charge off on your credit card, your credit report. But that don't matter. You can take I can take a charge off account and reopen that mug. So look, that's deceptive. And under the Fair Credit Reporting Act and Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, is grounds for a dispute and even legal action. Of course it is. The reason why they do this is because you have an interest in the proceeds. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip the script on them. You see what I'm saying? You have the right to flip the script on anybody that says you owe a debt. So look, if your signature created the account, if your default helped the bank claim insurance, write offs, or even securitize the debt, then you have a legal or equitable claim in those proceeds. Did you know that about a charge off? Most people don't because you're not the debtor. That's why it says the guarantor charged off the debt. They're talking about you. You are not just a debtor, you're the contributor. You're the original source of value. You can lawfully demand an accounting, a set off, or a correction of the credit record. So now we got to understand, how do you fight back? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you. Uh, let's see. Let's see. I'm going to give you some sauce. So what this is under is this is going to be under basic contract law, not the FDCPA. See, a lot of people tell you about the FDCPA and your consumer rights and consumer this, consumer that. Everything originates from contract law. This is why I was telling you guys under Article 1, Section 10. Article 1 of the Constitution is the most important part of the Constitution because everything else is an amendment of what? Article 1. Amendment or attachment of Article 1. So look, here's how you fight back. You can dispute the charge with all three credit bureaus under the FCRA under subsection 623A. You can actually send a demand letter for a copy of the 1099-C or written verification. Okay. You can file an affidavit. Okay. In regards to this, you don't have to file an affidavit, but you have to claim or check and see where the proceeds are going because they're trying to play you. Okay. You can notify the IRS. I've told people this back in the day. I said, you can send a 1099-C to the IRS. You don't have to wait for them to do it. This is what a lot of people, man, when people deal with credit repair or they deal with so-called alleged debt, they think they have to wait till the lender sends them something back. Just like when people send stuff in court, they think that they have to wait till the court responds. No, you don't. So look, you have to understand with all of this, you're not powerless. So some people think, oh, I can't clean my credit. I can't get this stuff off my credit. And I'm sitting here like, yes, you can. And my credit repair course shows you how to do it from the comfort of your home. You never have to appear in court if you sue these people. I hope you guys know that. Look, you might feel powerless. You know, your credit might look destroyed, but that's really just a manipulation tactic. You see what I'm saying? So you have to understand some of their manipulation tactics to give you the to kind of make you think that there's no hope. The moment you ask for accounting, the moment you start asking where the money is going, where you start asking who's the source funds, oh yeah, you're gonna see some different changes. I'll guarantee you they'll settle with you. Look, your options are not gone. And the bank, I mean, your options, they want you to think that your options are gone and the bank has leverage. They don't. Okay. But I'm gonna tell you that you're more powerful than the bank. You have to have a process and know your rights so you can claim the value in the proceeds. Okay. So look, you got to act in honor, precision, and be very persistent. And this is why I see a lot of people don't do. They'll send one letter, the bank won't listen to them, and then they'll just keep moving on with their life. All of a sudden, they'll get a notice of default or repo, and you're like, "Wait a minute, what did you do?" "Oh yeah, I sent them a letter. They didn't do nothing." "Okay, what did you do?" "Well, I sent them a letter." "What did they do?" "Nothing." "Okay, did you default them?" "No." If I had $1 million for every time I heard that, I would be disgustingly rich. So look, when you understand that a charge off is just a status, it's a quote. It's not actually that the loan has been charged off. You will understand how deceptive the credit repair game is, or how deceptive the credit reporting game is. Because the credit repair game is to keep you in the credit system. right? So even when I do a credit repair video, I'm only doing it for people who are in the credit system, not the people who understand contract law. Because the people who understand contract law, that would be a different, they would be looking for different understanding. Okay. So credit repair is basically just repairing your credit report. It's not discharging any debt. It's not getting anything off your credit. But just by demanding an accounting and asking where the source funds are, you can damn near clear everything off your credit. So I hope y'all found this helpful, you know. And if you like it, share it, drop a comment if you feel in it. If not, if you want me to go in, if you want me to get deeper in credit, I can do that for you because credit is a big thing, man. A lot of times people don't understand how important credit is and in changing your situation. Remember, if somebody's gonna give you $10,000 of credit, right? It depends on how you use the credit. Um, if they give you allegedly 10,000, they're not giving the bank is not loaning you $10,000. You can look at the books and it'll show you. I had a consultation where I showed people, and I'm sitting there showing them, and I'm like, okay, give me your note, and then we'll go over the note, and then I'm like, okay, give me your statement, and we'll go over the statement. And I said, where in the statement does it show that they're the source funds of the bank, the source funding bank? And then people are like, I don't see it, and I'm like, that's your answer, because everything has to be clear and concise under contract law. And with that being said, I hope y'all have a great day, a great weekend, a great weekday. And nobody told you they love you. I do. Y'all have a great one.